Yeah, for those of you who didn't hear, Olivia Neal, our soloist, is just feeling under the weather this morning, so Elliot and Alvon are soldiering on.
That's right. And we got a couple surprises at the end of the service. So stick around for that.
Good morning. I did what I often do. I had to stop to get gasoline. Yeah, usually about twice a month I need to get some gasoline. So I pulled into the pump and got things started, and then I went to get my squeegee and stuff, and I looked up and there was this car on the other side of the pump. In the front seat behind the wheel was a woman who just looked completely worn out, and she had her smartphone out, and she was just, but then behind her, the window was about halfway open, and sticking out of the car was a 3-year-old girl. She was out to about her waist, and she had her hand on the windowsill, and she's just looking and taking in the world. And she looks at me, and I smiled at her, and I gave her a wave, and she waved, and she's watching me very carefully as I squeegeed the windows and stuff, and she's just taking it all in, and then suddenly she looks towards the building, and someone's come walking out there, "Hi, Daddy!" And I thought, wow, if we just could remember to take in the world the way this little girl was taking in the world. I mean, do you think of the gas station as being a joyous place? Yet she was finding joy just by observing every single thing that was going on. Think of a time when you experienced great joy. What was the occasion? Go ahead and just shout some of them out. I know for me, the day I married Carla, you know what? And you think back to the day you married Joanne. Want to swap? It's like the one Monty Python bit where the guys were bringing the woman back to the clerk of the court. Says, "I married her a couple weeks ago. I want to trade her in for a different one." God. So, but yeah, you think of kids opening a present that they really wanted. All of these various joy things. And of course, joy is one of the 4 Sundays in Advent. We've gone ahead. We've got the Advent wreath here. Advent was started in the 400s in Germany, and the idea was building to Christmas. And of course, as you're building to Christmas here in the Northern Hemisphere, the light is getting darker and darker and darker until you hit the winter solstice, which, depending upon the year, falls on December 21st or December 22nd. And of course, for many, many millennia, people have celebrated, the winter solstice because that's the shortest day of the year, and suddenly there's a rebirth of light. And so when Christianity got organized, they moved the celebration of Jesus' birth to 3 days after the winter solstice, rather. And the 3 days represented the 3 days where the moon disappears in the sky, the new moon. But then so the idea was that in even the darkest moments, we can have these 4 gifts of spirit surface for us. There's a wreath, no beginning, no end, a circle. It's evergreen, so it's everlasting. So the first week was faith, and then we had peace, and then we had love. Then you notice the 4th candle is pink, just like the sky kind of looks before sunrise, and it's joy for this week. And then the middle candle, Christ candle, is lit on Christmas Eve, which we'll be doing tomorrow night. So, the feeling of joy. There's that sense of exuberance, or like the little girl hanging out of the car window at the speedway station that I was at. But I've also noticed that some of my most joyful moments, I'm experiencing tearfulness, just the tears of joy that come. Back in 2005, Carla and I were actually down in Hollywood, Florida. We'd been serving the congregation down there, and Carla was prescribed some eardrops. And it turns out the eardrops had an ingredient in them that actually killed her hearing and damages her hearing. So suddenly, starting in 2005, Carla's hearing started getting worse and worse and worse, and they figured out that this ingredient is in these eardrops. So we didn't know about it, and the doctor didn't know about it at the time. But things really began to look bleak, because every year Carla had more and more problems hearing, even with hearing aids. And finally, it was about 2014, I would tell people on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best hearing, Carla was down to about a 2. But she had the blessing of having a conversation with a man who came to, of all things, a funeral at our church, and he had cochlear implants. Now, if you're not familiar with a cochlear implant, it's a new technology. Well, it's about 30 years old now, to allow people who've got problems, especially in their hearing canal, to hear. So I'm going to have Duncan put up the slide of that. And what they do is they bypass the ear canal by drilling a hole in the back of your head and running an electrode into the cochlea, which is the thing that's shaped like a snail or a nautilus. And the electrode actually stimulates so that the person can hear. And you see the blue thing there is kind of like the hearing aid. It's got a microphone at the front of it. But then at the back here, underneath the skin, they put this contact plate, the processor that runs everything that's sending the signal down to your ear. And there's a magnet, there, which is what I like to see on Carla on the back of her head there. So we were excited about it, and we'd scheduled an appointment first weekend in October 2015. Carla had one ear done, and the other ear was done about 9 months later. But so we had a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation, and on October 19th, we went over to the hospital where the audiologist, Teresa, kind of walked Carla through what they were going to do and then activated her first cochlear implant. So I'm going to have Duncan show you the video of that.
On. It's going to sound different. Different is not a bad thing. I'm going to slowly make it louder, but I want you to tell me when you can hear my voice and when it's at a comfortable level.
Okay.
I do not expect you to understand me, but I want you to tell me when you hear my voice. Okay?
Teresa's activating her implant with her computer.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
It's like I heard it's kind of the robotic sound that I heard.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Is my voice the same or is it louder?
It's still in there.
What does it sound like to you?
It sounds like an alien.
That's okay. That's okay. That's very typical. That's okay. The more you wear it, the more you practice with it, the more natural it's going to sound. Okay?
Okay.
This is day one. You know,
Yeah.
it's a different input. It's that electrical input. But the more you wear it, your brain starts to get used to this sound, and hopefully the better the understanding gets.
Okay.
So I'm behind the video cam with tears strolling down my face, finally seeing. And I realized that, that my prayers had been answered. First, of course, I've been praying for Carla's, hearing to be healed. But then I remembered that when Carla and I started to date and I wasn't behaving according to her preferences, that she would say things like, "I need you like I need another hole in the head." And here the doctor drilled 2 new holes in her head. And also, there are times where I'd say to her, "You need to have your head examined." And they did an MRI of her head before they did this procedure. So, you see, it's amazing. Prayer works. Over the last 4 weeks, as I've talked about the Advent tradition, and of course, here the darkness, everything seems to be awful, and yet, you've got faith, peace, love, and joy that can be expressed. And I had someone say to me last week, "Well, what if you're not facing any challenges?" And I said, "Wow, tell me how you do that. I would love to hear how you do that." But yeah, there are times, where life is a little bit more calm. Things are going the way that we wish that they would. But it's at those times that I recognize, okay, another spiritual growth opportunity is on its way, probably. We used to say in the seminary, we had an acronym, AFGO, another growth opportunity, as the challenges would surface in our lives. And it seems like so often it's when something seems to surface that we have no clue as to how we're going to handle it. I have this affirmation, how is none of my business. If I'm willing to open my mind to the divine mind and get the divine ideas, I'll be guided as what I need to do, because I may not have a clue right now. I want to share with you a Bible verse from the Old Testament book of Joshua, starting at the beginning, first chapter, first verse. After the death of Moses, the Lord said to Joshua, Moses' aide, Moses is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River to the land I am about to give the Israelites. As I was with Moses, I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to your forefathers that I would give to you. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the spiritual laws that my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Taken at the literal level, you can imagine what it's like to have to take over from Moses. I found it intimidating enough just following Alan and Debbie and Clive, But remember, every character in the Bible represents some aspect of ourselves or some growth within ourselves. And when you have a death of a character like Moses, what it means is that divine idea has carried you as far as it can carry you. So there's death, and then there's usually there's either a birth or someone that steps forward. So in this case, it's Joshua. And I like how it says, do not turn from it to the right or to the left. The symbolism there is either to your intellect or to your feelings. So in other words, don't overthink this thing, and don't let your feelings run away with you. Just remember to follow the spiritual laws. So here's Joshua, that aspect of in ourselves of okay, it's a new beginning. We're crossing the River Jordan into this new land. We don't have a clue as to what we're facing there. And if you ever crack open the Bible and read the book of Joshua, it's a pretty bloody chapter. I know when people complain about Islam and Muslims, have you ever read the book of Joshua? They're walking through the land, slaughtering everything in their path. But symbolic, what it means is, okay, I'm ready to eliminate this negativity from my life. I'm ready to think about things in a new way. I'm ready to claim my good. That's what the book of Joshua is about, as is so many of the Bible stories. But do you believe what's written here? If this is indeed part of us, that God presence saying, be strong and courageous, everything's going to be okay. There was a woman who was walking down the sidewalk in this little town, and up ahead of her, coming in the opposite direction, is a big bear of a man. He's pushing a stroller ahead of him, and she sees him, his mouth is kind of moving as she comes up. She's thinking, well, he's probably talking on a smartphone or something. But when she gets close to him, she sees, no, he's not talking on a smartphone. But he is saying, it's okay, Albert. Everything's going to be okay. Take it easy. Relax. Everything's going to be okay, Albert. And so they pass, and the woman just turned around and came walking up next to the man and said, I am really impressed. Here, you're affirming you're for Albert that everything's going to be okay. And the man said, no, I'm Albert, that's Johnny. I need to remind myself that everything's going to be okay, because I've never done this before. So how many times have you had to do something that you didn't know you'd do before? We're at an interesting place now for Unity of Tampa. We've decided let's sell this property and get something new, something that's going to suit our needs and our mission better than this place has been. And that's pretty intimidating. I felt overwhelmed at times. And once again, it's like, how is this all going to happen? And then going back to that affirmation, how is it none of my business? If I see God as my agent, or that I'm in cooperation with His God presence, everything's going to unfold the way it needs to unfold. I just need to put it, let go of it, let God lead. Let there be divine order in the situation. There's a wonderful song that helps me to remember how I need to proceed at moments like this. It goes like this. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. What a great affirmation. If you're in your boat, you better be rowing it or you're going to drift. And then if you're going to row your boat, Which direction are you going? Are you going downstream or upstream? Paddling against the current is not a wise idea. And then gently down the stream. Don't get all worked up about it. And then, of course, the attitude, merrily, 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 merrily. And life is but a dream. Our life is created through our thoughts, through our beliefs, through our feelings. Charles Fillmore, and of course, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore started the Unity movement in the 1880s when Myrtle was able to heal herself of tuberculosis by meditation, focusing on the chakras, on the organs, expressing gratitude for life. Charles defined joy as the happiness of God expressed through God's perfect idea, human beings. Joy and gladness are strength-giving, especially if the mind is fixed on things of spirit. Yeah, think of these things. Being willing to change our minds or to change our feelings in any given situation. And of course, we have the daily word affirmation today. It's printed on page 3 of your bulletin. The joy of the Lord is my strength. I am God's joy. So if you are experiencing, like earlier this week, I was feeling kind of down, and if you're feeling emotional pain or depression, especially at this time of year, Joseph Campbell had a wonderful quote, and I love Joseph Campbell's stuff. Find a place within you where there's joy, and the joy will burn out whatever pain you're feeling. Wow, yeah. So how do we experience joy? What's the practical way? Of course, what do I say often? Open your mind to the divine mind. It's always connected to your mind. You just need to be aware of it and allow the download of the divine idea to come, the thing that is right and perfect for you to express. I'm going to have Duncan go ahead and put up the slide. First, after we've opened up our mind, can we remember that we can change our thoughts? We can shift our thinking. What about thinking about happy or exciting things? When I see myself going down that negative path like I did earlier this week, it's kind of, well, wait a minute here. I can change my mind about what I'm thinking. And I remember when I first discovered Unity in the 1980s, it's like, oh, I just thought these thoughts happened. But it's like, no, I have dominion over the earth. I have dominion over my thoughts and over my feelings. I can change what it is I'm thinking or feeling. And remember that whatever we focus on expands. So am I focused on joy, or am I focused on something else? What's working in my life? My strengths, my weaknesses, rather than recognizing that I have weaknesses and recognizing what I can do about them, but more importantly, what are my strengths? Whatever I focus on is going to expand. Number 2, be strong and courageous, like from our Bible verses. When you're divinely guided, follow through. When you understand what's yours to do, do it. It can be amazing how many times someone will get the guidance, but then they'll start rationalizing not to do what it is they need to do. Don't allow the outer appearances to dissuade you. Sometimes the task looks impossible. Number 3, and then is live God's truth. Things that we talk about here every week. When we've got the book and gift store full of books to talk about living the truth. But here, if we're following that divine guidance, and in everyone's life, I know you have people who've modeled to you what it is that you need to do. When Carla and I discovered Unity, it was Reverend Mike Matoin in Chicago was passed on. And then when we had a chance to travel all around the country doing seminars in the 1990s, meeting all of these Unity ministers and seeing the different ways they would do things. And I finally got it. Every minister just needed to be their authentic self and just express what I've learned, about Unity and be willing to share it with you every week. Every day is a wonderful opportunity to have fun and to celebrate. Now, those of you who come regularly know I like to finish with a video. It's a little bit different video this week. I've actually spliced together 2 videos. The second part of the video will be of a little girl who's 4 years old. She had cerebral palsy and didn't think that she would ever walk. Her parents didn't think. But then they were told about an experimental new spinal procedure, and so she had that procedure, and the video shows her walking for her the first time. But before that, I want to show you a video of people who are putting on these glasses for the first time. And it's the work of a fellow named Don McPherson. He was he had a doctorate in glass science, and he had been tasked with finding, or at least inventing, a pair of glasses that would protect doctors' eyes if they're doing laser surgery. Because sometimes, an errant laser and stuff might go into their eyes. And so he found a way of just kind of refracting and changing the direction of the laser so that people's eyes would be safe. And he was out with one of his friends playing ultimate frisbee. I'm not even quite sure what that is. I know what frisbee golf is, but ultimate frisbee. And he's telling his friends about it. And he's, oh, well, wow, can I try it on? And he tries them on, and the guy is just gobsmacked. He's colorblind, but suddenly he's seeing the full color spectrum for the first time in his life. And he had the most common one, which of course is, people have difficulty differentiating between green and red. It's like for some reason your eyes just don't pick up the red tones. And so he paired up with a couple of other fellows. One was a mathematician, another one was a computer scientist, and they were able to invent these glasses, and they've produced the first pair in 2012. So I want to have a chance to see these people putting on these glasses for the first time who are colorblind.